everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I have a bit of a different video for you today. I recently did an art trade with, or an art collab with the amazing Amanda Elise, and in that collab I did a marble texture for the wall, and I asked if anyone would be interested in me giving a tutorial on that method. Not that I'm a expert or anything, this is just how I did it for the picture, and a lot of you guys said yes, so here it is. This is kind of like the wall that I had in the picture, and I just outlined it with my black Micron 01 symbol outline, and I kept it out because first the column I'm going to do one thing, and then for this I'm going to do another, so I need those still. And then I have a Stabilo 0.88 of this darker kind of gray. And then the only Copics I have and will be using is C1, 3, oh, you go here, 5, 7, and 9. So just all of those that go right in a row. And for this, you just slowly build up for it. And I think the hardest thing I learned about marble texture, again, not that I'm an expert, is that you don't want a lot of control with how you hold your marker. So instead of holding it like this, like I normally would with coloring, this gives me too much control. So I ended up holding it like this for the marble. And the first thing you want to do is figure out what direction you want this to go in. And I made this so you could see how it kind of wraps around. So I think I'm going to go with this kind of downward slant direction for this wall. And you kind of just lift up and then let go. And it's best to just build up with the lightest colors first to the darkest colors. And I found that something else, especially with looking at the tutorials that I watched, I just watched a couple of them, is that it's nice to make these big old blobby sections, because then you can layer the darker colors and it looks like paint splotches almost. I'm getting too much control. I gotta figure out how I actually held this when I made my picture. It's been a few days. So you kind of lightly press it so you get those thin ghost lines, and then press it pretty hard to get those splotches. And this is where kind of the fun part comes in. Not this right here. This is the same. But here, because it's this 3D effect that you want for this, you don't want it to go straight across. That would ruin the effect. So it's actually going to go back this way, like it wraps around on it, and it's going to go a different direction. Again, I gotta figure out how to hold this where I don't have all that much control. And it's good to do fast, loose movements so you get those organic sort of lines instead of planned straight lines. And this is just a tutorial, so I can go over in this spot if I want. So I can make a little because that part's not important. I just need this part here to turn out good. Alright, so this is almost done. And another tip is to not have all of the ends meet, whereas like this touches, but this is empty, and then there's a space here, just so it doesn't look like it's all coming from the same place, or it looks too, again, uniform. Okay, I think that's good for C1. So then I go with C2, and it's best, I found, to lay a lot of C1 down, and then when you go for each darker color, you want to lay less down so that you can see the different layers of colors instead of just overlaying, and you only see one color in the end because it's the darkest one. So holding your Copic where you don't have a lot of control, and I just kind of shoot for the middle of the lightest color, but not covering all of it. And you don't even have to go on the lightest color if you want. You can kind of add these little wisp lines of a darker color. Ooh, that was a bit too straight. Oh well. So fast movements, not making all of them straight, or at least not trying to. So you get this really cool organic kind of shape to it. I like these with the big spots because it looks like a paint splatter at the end. So thin wispy lines, and then press down a little bit harder. And then these go this direction. I think it's better if I come in from this angle because it's a little more awkward. So it's unsteady, and that's kind of what you want for marble. And then this way. Okay, next color, and I might actually skip C5 just because I want to lay some darker tones, but these you almost need really shaky lines, and it's also fun to have these little dots here because it looks like it just kind of splattered. And I'm not using completely 100% black. This actually might be my darkest color. I don't think I will use that C9 just because it is almost black, and that's not what I want. So here's the pool, so we gotta fill it just a little bit. I feel like I have too much control a little bit. It's almost like the scribble challenge, but with markers, and you want this kind of cool design here. And this has taken up quite a bit of the lighter colors, so I'm going to go back after I'm done with this and put a little bit of a lighter color over top just to soften it up a little bit. Right, now we go this way. None of those are going to the end, so I need to bring those up a little bit because it just looks weird. I hid a bunch of those big old paint splotches I was really wanting. So let's go back and add a few. just to spruce it up a little bit. Alright, and then I want to go with a slightly lighter color and just kind of blend that in a bit. Just so it's not so harsh. And it kind of fills in some of this white space that I didn't really need too much of. You still want a lot of white space because it will complement all the gray, but I think I left a little too much white space. And then I might shade a little bit, so I need a couple more colors just to help, especially with this area. You can see that it's a different plane, I think is the technical term. But it's a little hard just because it's all the same color. So just to help it out a little bit, we are actually going to add some W3 and B91. These were the ones that I chose to shade with in my collab, but depending on the picture, the background, and what kind of feel you want to it, you can use different colors to shade. So because there's this pillar here, I want to shade right past it and go pretty quick. That way the blue really blends in with it seamlessly. Just flick it over. So that's a little too brown for me, or warm. And I want it a bit cooler since marble is cooler, so I'm going to add this really light blue on top just to help it out. Like that. Then we're going to shade here. And all this shading really depends on where your light is coming from. Since this doesn't really have a light, I'm just going to shade it in the corners. Alright, just to help out. We might actually do a little bit down here since this is a different area. So I'm going to flick it both ways just to help it out. Alright, so that's the floor. Alright, there we go. And I kept these out because one of the tutorials that I found actually had these markings on top, and I didn't really like how the black looked on top because I didn't use black in here. It was just too much. But I did like how this dark gray looked. So normally I would hold it like this for a lot of control, but I'm gonna hold it like this instead and just do that same little thing. However, this you can be more squiggly with because it's a finer line. So I gotta hold it loose, squiggle all over the place. Channel your inner child. It's just a little hard because you can't really hold the pen like this or the ink doesn't come out. So I'm actually gonna hold it like this and just scribble all over the place. This way, I'm gonna scribble this way because of that different angle. Can add some loops, can add straight-ish lines, can go all over the place. Probably the funnest part. And then for the column, it's a little bit different, just in the fact holding it loose. Alright, I think that's good. For C1, whoop, C3, doing the same thing, but not going as hard. Since you want thinner lines, you don't want to cover up the C1. So making these swinging motions, but stopping and adding little blobs, I find is really helpful. And obviously this is just a tutorial since I'm not drawing everywhere else, so it's a little harder when you draw your finished piece, only because you can't be crazy like this over here. Unless you mask it off, then that's void. You can do whatever you want. Alright, my darkest one now so that I can use C5 to lighten it up a little bit. And I find it's best to do this really fast. That way the ink doesn't dry and it can naturally just blend into itself. I think I'm getting some pretty thick lines and not a lot of dots. I want some dots. Alright, almost there. I feel like I'm just writing really bad. Because, I don't know, you can really tell what I'm writing when I write. But, like, my brother writes like this here. So I feel like I'm writing like my brother. Alright, I did not add too many of those big old splotches like I did over here. So quickly I'm going to choose a few spots and kind of add some since I left them out. Alright, and then with C5, I'm going to go right over these and kind of darken them up a little bit. And extend out so you can see some different shades and colors. So if this tutorial is helpful, let me know what else you would want to see. I don't do a lot of tutorials because I don't feel like I'm the best at stuff, coloring techniques, whatever. But if there's something you want to see how I usually draw or color it, I was thinking of doing another tutorial for transparent fabrics, tails, fins for mermaids, stuff like that, because I do color a lot of translucent fabrics and stuff. So I was thinking of that one, but if there's something else, like hair, I don't know, I feel like I've pretty much stuck with other people's way of coloring skin, so I don't feel like skin would be beneficial, but I mean, if that's something you want to watch, just let me know. For the shading, I'm not going to start on this very edge because I want to highlight, so I'm going to start over just a smidge, draw straight-ish down, and then swoop these over with a curve. All kind of quickly so that this blue has time to blend into this warm gray. Alright, and for the blue, I just realized I did this different from this one where I added the pen, but you know, shade first, then pen, pen first, then shade. It doesn't really matter. Not with the pen. Alright, so you kind of shade in swoops like you did. I leave just this little highlight over here. And then with my pen once more, I can go ham and just scribble away. And it's kind of fun to press down and then let it up a little bit, and you get that streaky pen, and it gives this really cool texture to it. I think a few more going back up this way, and there we go. Probably my favorite part of that. So that is how I do marble textured. Let me know what else you would want to see. Maybe I can put another tutorial together, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!